everyone. I'm here with Fred Joyal, the co-founder of 1800dentist, right, Fred?
That's one of my claims to fame, probably the biggest.
One thing that everybody knows you about.
Yeah.
I met Fred at our friend's seminar, Dr. Len Tao's seminar down in Florida, and you were talking to someone, and I look and I'm like, oh, that's the guy everybody tells me wrote the Bible to dental marketing. And I have your book and I've read a few chapters. I keep putting it down, reading it when I'm on the plane, but I really appreciate what you have done. And a lot of us don't know much about you. So I asked you if you could come on so you can talk to us about what you have done, what you're doing, and what you are going to do in the future. I'd really appreciate it. Take a minute or so to kind of talk about whatever you like, man.
Yeah, so I started as an ad man. I started working in the ad business and just had the opportunity because this phone number was available, 800 Dentist. Actually, a friend of mine had signed it up, like with the phone company, and it was ringing to his house for like 6 years, and he just didn't know what to do with it. And he said, I think you could turn this into a business. Now, it's very important to be young and naive enough to think you can run a business with no experience and no knowledge of the dental industry. But we started with another good friend of mine. We started with 18 dentists back in 1986. And caught a lot of headwind along the way, including from the ADA. Along the way, they went state by state trying to make dental referral services outlawed. It made them illegal, and then we eventually brought the Federal Trade Commission down on them for restraint of trade. They didn't like that at all, but we were the loudest voice promoting dentistry. We spent $500 million in television advertising, telling people, if you don't have a dentist, call us. If you do, go. That was essentially our message. And thousands more dentists benefited from my advertising than ever paid me. So if you're one of those who never paid me, send $1 to my Venmo account. And we'll get caught up here. And then, eventually we ran a live call center, and we get thousands of calls every day in this phone number for decades. And then eventually Google disintermediated the business, as they call it. They were eliminating any intermediaries like me. And so they succeeded, and I failed to pivot effectively. And this was about 10 years ago. So television became less effective, and then streaming made it incredibly ineffective. And then, and phone numbers became much less important than domain names. I mean, 800 Dentist still exists, but it's a much smaller version of it, and I don't operate it anymore. So now I'm running on two tracks. I'm running a software company that streamlines the process of getting patient video testimonials from your patients, because it's the most powerful marketing tool ever created. That simple 30-second testimonial from a patient. Then I make it easy for you to get them on your website and then download them and use them everywhere and just manage them so you can maximize their value. And I also, over the years, I felt compelled to write a personal growth book on life lessons that I learned, particularly on how a person can become bolder and chase their dreams more effectively, and not be the one holding themselves back, and not be the one stopping themselves, which is where the primary person that stops us is us in chasing our dreams, whether we want to admit it or not. And so I wrote a book called Super Bold, and about 2 years ago. And so I've been speaking on that, and I actually have a version of it called the Super Bowl Dental Practice, where I do keynotes on that. And it's been very satisfying, because I think not everybody's like you, Bob. Not everybody's bold all the time. And never stop themselves. Most people are, saying, well, if I were more confident, I would do this. And then, the clock runs out, and you stack a bunch of regrets. And I just want people to not have regrets as when they get to the end of the line, and live a life on their terms and chase their dreams. Whether they get there or not, they at least tried. I mean, to me, that's the great lesson, is that if you find out that trying and failing actually feels better than not trying, it's a huge transition for you when that happens. If you can try and not and fail and just say, yeah, there's something in this for me, but at least I tried. It's like somebody walking up to, they have somebody they would really like to meet across the room, whether it's a woman they want to meet, or the famous person, or a successful business person, and they just stand there and say, I should go talk to him. What would I say? I don't know what to say. And then all of a sudden, other people walk up to them and start talking, and the window closes. I want you to walk up. I want you to step right up, and metaphorically in life, I want you to learn to step up and embrace that failure, because a lot of more times you succeed than you think you will.
Yeah.
So
it's a really interesting subject you bring up. I don't want people to confuse what you're saying, the boldness, with rudeness.
Or arrogance, or being a show off,
Correct.
or any of those things.
Yeah, because online, we were just talking about this with my friend Paul Goodman. Online behavior has, especially in the dental communities, has become such a strange environment that this screen gives those people who were reserved not to become rude, actually, right?
Oh yeah.
You're not talking about that. You're talking about taking chances on your career. You're talking about grasping what is thrown at you and making a positive impact for people around you. Am I correct? Is this what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I mean, that's not, those people, the haters online who are posting anonymously, that's not boldness, that's cowardice. Okay, they're hiding because they're to say stuff they would never say to your face. And so this boldness is about chasing your dreams. It's about admitting to yourself that you want something, even though you're afraid you might not get it, and that means you really want it because you're afraid it won't happen. So that actually stops us a lot of times. But there's so many ways that it affects you positively. Bold enough to give feedback to somebody, bold enough to ask for feedback, bold enough to tell your team members what you expect to them, bold enough to present a huge dental case that's way more than you've ever presented before, because that's what the patient needs. Because a lot of dentists have a ceiling above which they cannot present, and it's got nothing to do with what the patient needs. They just can't present a case over 10 grand. And I know doctors who can present $100,000 case without batting an eye. Right. And they don't have any more CE. They don't have any more clinical skills. They're just bold enough to say that number.
Right. Yeah. And that's a big thing, because a lot of us are not equipped or trained to speak in public, to speak about money, to speak with confidence. I am the first one to admit that I'm a terrible public speaker. I call my podcast here Amateur Hour, and I'm trying to help myself. I'm getting speech coaches and things like that, but it is also my brand that I'm not really a DJ type thing. I just try to be myself. But you're absolutely right. Getting training how to talk to patients is part of boldness. Is that if you are confident enough to be able to look at a case and present it in a way that the patient understands it and accepts it, is a tool and a talent, right?
Yeah, even one of the boldness skills is, like, you have to have the boldness to shut up after you presented a case. instead of immediately backtracking and say, well, if that seems like too expensive, then we could just we could just fix a couple of those crowns and then we'll watch it. I've talked to dentists who say I've presented enormous cases and just waited, and sometimes the patient says, okay, when do we start? You don't know what they're going to say. Find out, be bold enough to wait and claim and not backtrack. But be bold enough to present and expect and survive them saying, are you crazy? $100,000. Why would I give you that much money? It's like, I don't even care about my teeth that much. And let it roll off. You just say, look, my professional responsibility is to tell you what the best care would be. If you don't want to do it, it doesn't change my life. I'm trying to change yours. Right. And you have to be bold enough to have the confidence to say that. Now, people say, well, if I were more confident, I would do that. What bold people know is that you don't have to be bold to take action. It's bold action that makes you more confident. Bold people do stuff all the time that they're not certain at all how it's going to go, but they know that it might go better or they're going to learn something in the process. You have to suck at something to get good at it. It's like you didn't become a good dentist in dental school right out of the gate. You were taking 3 hours to prep a crown. So you got better by not being good at it, but just keeping at it.
Right.
And
so
it's the same thing, building boldness.
So you're doing lectures on this for dentists?
Yeah. I'm actually coaching some individuals. Actually, I coach a few CEOs, but now I'm lecturing to their sales teams and lecturing to dentists and their teams, because that you want a bold team that's bold enough to express appreciation, that's bold enough to ask patients if they'll do a Google review or a video testimonial. I mean, those things are powerful ways to grow your practice, or to be bold enough. There's so many dentists aren't bold enough to ask a patient to recommend them. Like, the number one way to build your practice is your patients building your practice. What they feel about you and how much they appreciate you is your number one marketing advantage.
Right.
So how do you leverage it?
Yeah, and that's, I run these numbers in my practice, and month after month, my number one source of referral, even though I spend a lot of money on marketing, or my internal marketing that don't cost me anything.
Yeah, no, it's as it should be. If your patient experience and your care, both of those things, because clinically they don't know, and this is what a lot of dentists, they get hung up on. It's like, I'm going to get some more CE. By all means, get more clinical training, get more technology, learn to use it, but learn to present, learn to communicate, learn to express appreciation, learn to tell people why you're using the technology for their benefit. And you won't be good at it right away, but as you say it, you start to say, I have CEREC because it's important to me to get you out of here as quickly as possible with the best possible result. So I've really invested heavily in the technology that makes that possible. That's what they care about. They don't care that it's a 3D camera, and a computerized lathe, and then and the blocks are really almost as hard as enamel, and they don't care about any of that. It's like one visit versus temporary, and then you got to cut it off and shoot me up again. Yeah, I care about that.
Right, and it is making it personal. I have been known to say that, I'm old enough to remember those 1980s fights between the ADA and different companies trying to help us marketing. But I'm also very open about being not smart enough to hire a coach, not smart enough to hire people who would have helped me get where I am 10 years sooner, right? What you're talking about is what I talk about is that find a coach. I have a couple of coaches in my group, Dr. Anissa Holmes, and I have Dr. Chris Phelps. These are people who've seen it all, right? they've experienced it, and they can teach you the business aspect of it. On the other hand, I've always said you can't be the greatest business person but a crappy dentist, right? You need to have the skills, invest
Yeah.
in your skills. And we have Ripe Global having a 2-year virtual residency. There's no more excuse. I never went to these big CE courses because I had bills to pay. I couldn't take off 4 weeks to go to a Spear or a Pankey. It was great. I wanted to learn. I read on it, but I never had the time. Now there is no more excuse. Everything can be done virtually, and it's eye-opening. I want to ask you to talk about your book, your other book that is on my right here, this way.
Yeah.
It's been referred to for me at least, that it's the Bible of dental marketing. Talk to me a little about that. How did you write that? When was this? Was this in the middle of 1800dentist?
Yes. So I wrote it. It's actually 15 years old now, but the first edition. But I revised it 4 more times. I updated it, and then I wrote a second book called "Becoming Remarkable: How to Create a Dental Practice Everyone Talks About." Because when they talk about you now, they talk digitally, and it's likable and shareable and searchable and undeletable. So you need to create a literally remarkable experience. And the book talks a lot about that. But the basic premise of the first book just follows through the second. Everything is Marketing basically says everything that a patient experiences increases or decreases case acceptance. Everything. Nothing is neutral. Everything they see, touch, taste, hear, and smell affects whether they are going to accept treatment from you. And we build trust with people not because we're trustworthy, but because we do all these cues that make people respond. We are human beings. We make emotional decisions, and then we try to find a rational reason to justify them. This is what I learned this in the first week of working in an agency. Like, use the power of emotion to persuade people and then give them a rational reason to buy. So when I, in Everything is Marketing, I talk about everything that the patient experiences from before they encounter the practice. What do they see on social media? What do they see on your website? They are judging the quality of your dentistry by the quality of your website, even though those two things are completely unconnected. You could be an A++ clinician, 600 hours of CE a year, with a crappy website that you haven't updated in 5 years. They move right on because they're saying this can't be a good dentist. But that's because everything else they do, they go online, and if it's a really robust, modern, easy to use website, they say this is a great product. And that's true for most retail products, is they know they need that website that is just like walking into the store. It's the difference between, the dollar store and the Nike store. Nike store is not trying to give you the cheapest shoes. They're trying to give you the most expensive shoes. So they build the most expensive facility. And if you go down Rodeo Drive, there's a guy outside, a security guy, letting people into the store just to make it feel like it's exclusive. They'll let anybody in, but they trickle them in like a nightclub. But it creates that impression that something's valuable. Human beings value stuff emotionally. And what we want them to do is value dentistry emotionally. We want them to connect their appearance and their health to the care they get only at a dentist. That's a powerful emotional connection.
Right. It's interesting you say that. Is, one of the ways I distinguish my group from others, and there's nothing wrong, everybody else has a different mission and niche, is that I only allow dentists in my group, and the way I confirm a lot of them is that I check their pictures with their website they provide, right? And I got to tell you, I look at a lot of websites. Some of them do not have the correct security encryption. Some of them don't have a picture of the doctor. And when I approve them somehow, then I tell them, hey, we do have sponsors. I have 4 or 5 different marketing companies that I tell people, interview all of them and see which one fits your appetite. They tell me, oh, I'm so busy, I don't need a website. And I always say, okay, just let me know if you need any help. But I look at them as that is your image you're portraying. Even for your current patients, they may not have a choice because you're rural and they have to travel 15 miles to get to the next dentist. But what if somebody else opens up next door to you in 5 years, right? You have to be able to establish a presence online, and whether or not we like it or not. I used to pay just to pay the yellow pages. This is, consider this the new age of yellow pages, that you have to be there to be recognized. But I at the same seminar that I met you, one of my sponsors, Studio 88, talked about creating videos that connect with patients. And as he was talking and playing the video, I was looking at the audience, and there were women and men that kind of wiping tears because of this story of a young dentist that was telling on her website that she was the first African-American doctor in her family, and it was just very, very powerful. And that's what your new endeavor is, right? You're collecting video testimonials, right?
Right, from patients, because that it is incredibly persuasive. When somebody's willing to take a phone and say why they appreciate you and wouldn't go anywhere else but you, and I see videos all the time from patients who just say, I'm never going anywhere else. This doctor has to die or I have to die. That's the only way this relationship is going to end. Or I was so afraid of a dentist till I met Dr. Catherine. She changed everything for me. And I hadn't been to a dentist in 15 years. I was afraid to go out of the house even. These kind of things, there is no written Google review. There is no text you can put on your website. There is no email you can blast out that would convey that level of emotion. The video is going to communicate it, and it's going to do it in 30 seconds. And it starts that key thing. It starts a level of trust because somebody was willing to do that, not paid to do it. No, felt necessary to express that. That's, we need trustworthiness, and and people need to perceive the value of dentistry. Those are the 2 things your practice is going to be built on forever: your trustworthiness and people perceiving the value of dentistry and yours above others. Why not start building the trust early? I've got doctors now. There's so many ways to use video. I could go on for like an hour beyond just the patient videos. Instead of a welcome call, why not send them a welcome text video? Say, hi, Robert, I understand you're coming in on Thursday. This is Dr. Robinson. I just wanted to welcome you to the practice personally. And I look forward to meeting you. And if you have any questions, just text me back and we'll set up a time when we can call ahead of time before you come in. But otherwise, I can't wait to see you on Thursday. How can somebody not show up for that appointment? Because that's the big challenge now. You need to be able to appoint online because that's what people are expecting to do, but that's really easy to not show up for. But when the doctor's taken 30 seconds to send out that text, the person's coming in and the relationship is started.
The world has changed, and we need to change with it. And as dentists, even the younger dentists are having a hard time with this marketing themselves. I was the first one to tell you that I'm like, why do I need to have this website or that website? I'm a great dentist, right? My patients appreciate me, so I should be getting everyone. But unfortunately or fortunately, there are tools available to us to market ourselves. And, you know, young people don't realize that back in the 80s, it was taboo for doctors to advertise, right?
Yeah.
That's why you were in trouble, right? That you wanted to
Well,
market.
yeah, because it was technically it was in 1979 that they made it legal for professionals to advertise. Lawyers, doctors, and dentists could not advertise in any way. And the lawyers are the ones that actually fought it, and it got overturned as a general federal regulation. But yeah, what you said early on is really important, is that just because you think you don't need it now doesn't mean Aspen Dental isn't looking at your neighborhood.
Mhm.
And you know what else they're doing? They're looking at your website and they're saying, wow, this practice doesn't know how to promote themselves at all. We are going to empty this practice of its patients. We are going down the street with what looks like a brand new facility. And I'm using Aspen as an example. What large groups are looking at where to put a practice that they can grab 2,000 patients.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you don't want that bullseye painted on you.
Yeah, and that's, I talk about this as well. You know, I'm next door to Heartland Dental, right? I don't mind. I wave. They're good people. And when I post this in my friend Dr. Goodman's post, well, my neighbors are going to see it. The employees are in that group, right? I don't mind. There are enough patients for everyone. I say, hey, come on and compete with me. But we have tools to compete with them. And if you refuse to use these tools, then don't complain to DSOs for taking your patients. You didn't do your job. This is what I always tell people. There are 13 to 15% of the market right now. Everybody thinks, oh my God, they're coming. They're not coming. They have the same challenges as us. If you're losing patients to DSOs, you haven't done your job. You haven't competed. And that's what you're basically saying, to use these marketing tools to market yourself. Fred, tell me about your new business. What's the name of it? I have no financial interest here. I'm doing it because I'm a fan of Fred and I want him to be successful in his new business as well. Maybe we will have some kind of a business deal in the future together. But for now, this is basically good info, no CE type of thing that we always have. What's the name of your new business?
TruBlu Social Smiles, and that's TruBlu Social Smiles, and that's of course the .com. Yeah, it's just a way. I love marketing, and dentistry has been really good to me. And had I morphed 800 Dentist into something, it would have been this. It would have been getting my clients to use video to the maximum. And so we just streamlined the process of requesting them. You still have to ask patients to do it, but we make it easy for you to just have them scan a QR code and do it right there on their phone. And now they've clicked a button that gives you the release to use it. And now you have it in your dashboard. We set it up so that you can instantly move it onto your website. And so you got a little widget window on your website with patients talking about why they go to you, which is what everybody gravitates to. I see so much stuff on dentist websites that they think people care about. I'm a member of the ADA and the CDA, and I've been to Spear, and I got this award and that award. And it's like, nobody cares. It's like, why are you unique? You know what makes you unique? Your patients, the patients who love you. Right. That's what makes you unique, and nothing else that people are doing. I mean, you show me your website, I'll show you 10 just like yours in a 10-mile radius. Right. But nobody has your patients who love you. Right. So you just need to get them to express it so you can digitize word of mouth. That's what you're doing so that you can use it everywhere.
So basically, you have this program that if the patient agrees, they basically do it on a device in your office, And now,
they do it right there on their own phone, right there in the office. They scan a QR code, the web app opens up, they record a video, they agree to allow you to use it, and it immediately uploads to the cloud. And now it's in your dashboard where you can download it or move it wherever you want. And the versatility of this as a marketing tool is what amazes me, because there's so many free places to use it. Social media, YouTube, you put it on YouTube, now you get the Google juice for it. You get the SEO, your own website boost up. You can put videos in your Google business profile, which is where a lot of people stop. As soon as they see that, they see the hours, they see a bunch of things, they can see pictures and video, they're done. They don't even go to your website. So there's all of these platforms that are free that you can put these things on. And let's say you get a really powerful, really moving video, email it to all your patients. Somebody goes on about, I had heard about dental implants, but I didn't really understand how easily they could be done, how fast it could be done, and the difference it would make in my life. But I'm so glad Dr. D did it for me, because I felt so comfortable, and it's totally transformed my life. I wish I'd done it 10 years ago. Email that video to every one of your patients and say, do you know someone who would benefit from this treatment? We have a lot of patients that we have done this on, and it's made an enormous difference in their lives. I want to personally guarantee that if you did that within a year, you'll generate $50,000 more production.
I want to remind everybody, the guy who just said that is not that Facebook guy that yells in your feed. This is the guy with credibility, right? This is the guy who wrote the book, and he's making me think right now, to be honest with you, that I'm going to sign up with his service. But yeah, this is good stuff. I want to thank you for being here. I want to give you a couple of minutes if you have anything to add at the end. I really appreciate your time, and I'm a big fan. And I need to have you sign my book. You gave it to the young lady there, and I was like, wait a second, what about me? We took a picture. That was enough for me.
Yeah, we did get a selfie, which is the most important thing in life at this point.
And exactly. And I sent it to Jonathan Akers from Cadre. He's the one who recommended me reading your book a few years ago. And I sent it to him, and he was like, oh my God, yeah. So he's a big fan as well. But yeah, if you have anything to add at the end, I'd really appreciate it. Go ahead, you have the floor.
Yeah, I am Fred Joyal everything. So fredjoyal.com is my website. You can learn more about the Super Bowl book and the other books. All my books are on Amazon and in Kindle and Audible as well. So it's me reading the books. I'm very passionate about boldness, but I've been incredibly blessed to be involved in the dental world and just meet some incredible practitioners that have become lifelong friends of mine. And they're doing so much good in the world and for people. And it is there. I think there's great nobility in the profession because it is so underappreciated. Because a lot of people, it's very easy to be a rock star. Everybody loves you. Everybody wants a picture with you. But dentists are doing noble work. And I am pleased and proud and grateful to be able to help them in any way that I can.
And I'd like to, on behalf of every dentist that you've helped market their businesses, I'd like to thank you. And hopefully we can have a long-term relationship between your company and my company so we can do this again in the future. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, Bob.